What's going on, everybody? Lucas Wenzel back again for Fantasy Pros. Welcome into the channel. Today we're going to be talking about 10 players on the waiver wire I am looking to stash ahead of this weekend's slate and ahead of next week's waivers as well. But before we get into any of that, if you want your chance at winning a signed Stefon Diggs Buffalo Bills jersey, courtesy of our friends over at Pristine Auction, you need to subscribe to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel right now and comment below on this video. That is it. That is all you need to do. We will be announcing a winner right here on the channel, so make sure to turn on those notifications so you can be alerted when new episodes are up and to claim your prize when we announce it. Let's start with the running back who I think should be rostered in far more than 11% of leagues. DJ Dallas, running back for the Seattle Seahawks. I know Ken Walker is the starter in that backfield, but Pete Carroll said this week that DJ Dallas will be playing more going forward. His production likely won't come on the ground, as we know that's Ken Walker's specialty, but in games where Dallas has seen 4 or more targets, he scored at least 7.5 fantasy points. As much as we know Pete Carroll loves to run the football, we've seen this team be more pass happy in recent weeks, giving more opportunity for Dallas to be out there on the field. I was shocked to learn that this wide receiver is rostered in only 20% of leagues. I'm talking about Nico Collins of the Houston Texans. Yes, the Texans are on bye this week, but we're getting proactive here and staying ahead of the game because after their bye, the Texans get the Raiders and the Titans, who are top 12 in fantasy points allowed to wide receivers. The distance between Brandon Cooks and Nico Collins in this offense is getting more marginal by the week. Collins' snap percentages have been rising every week, 67% in weeks 1 and 2, 68% in week 3, 79% in week 4, and up to 81% in week 5. His advanced metrics look great as well. He's 20th amongst wide receivers in yards per target, 13th in average depth of target, and 7th in yards per reception. He hasn't found the end zone yet this year, but once he does, everyone will be all over him, so make sure to add him now. I always prefer to be proactive with players like Nico Collins, but I'm actually going to choose to be a bit reactive here with our next player. Tevin Coleman, running back for the San Francisco 49ers, is rostered in only 6% of leagues despite scoring 22 fantasy points last week. He'll still be working behind Jeff Wilson, but Coleman's made his case to be the team's running back 2 after scoring 2 touchdowns in week 5. And I'm no fortune teller, I can't see into the future, but this 49ers backfield has a history of being banged up. And I never wish injury upon any player, but all it would take is for Jeff Wilson, who does have an extensive injury history, to be knocked out of a game and you instantly have a top 25 fantasy back in Tevin Coleman. So maybe in some ways you are being proactive here as well. Khalil Shakir filled in nicely for Isaiah McKenzie and Jamison Crowder last week by scoring a touchdown with 75 receiving yards. Even though it may seem like a one-off performance with Isaiah McKenzie now being cleared from concussion protocol, I'm still stashing him. Shakir being rostered in 3% of leagues feels far too low, especially when McKenzie and Crowder were splitting slot reps prior to last week. It didn't take long at all for Shakir to get settled into this Buffalo Bills offense, and if McKenzie misses any time again, Shakir is the next man up. If you haven't stashed this next player already, it is definitely time to stash him now. Jalen Warren, running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers, is rostered in only 11% of leagues. 11! With how abysmal Najee has been this year, Warren should be on far more rosters, and frankly on every roster that has Najee Harris. Jalen Warren outsnapped Najee in week 5, albeit in the midst of a blowout, but he was far more efficient on the ground, averaging 4.8 yards per carry to Najee's 1.8, and he saw more targets as well. The stretch of games coming up isn't great for Pittsburgh, but they could find themselves behind a lot more, and we could see a few more games similar to last week for Warren. Stashing youth and upside is so important, and Taekwon Thornton saw his first NFL action on Sunday after being sidelined with a collarbone injury to start the season. His 42% snap count was fairly encouraging for his first game as a rookie. Obviously, he's not the top option for this Patriots passing attack, but this is a guy with 100th percentile speed. He ran a 4.28 at the NFL Combine this year. This team will get him away from the line of scrimmage more, or find ways to get the ball into his hands to utilize his incredible speed and burst. Joshua Kelly isn't this uber talented, insanely high upside stash, but he did see 10 rushing attempts on Sunday behind Austin Eckler and appears to be the number 2 back in this offense. Alexander Horvath had 2 attempts for 3 yards, and Sony Michel is now getting phased out of this offense with only 1 rushing attempt. Kelly's making the most of his opportunities as well. He's currently 28th amongst running backs in fantasy points per opportunity, 22nd in yards per touch, and 11th in yards created per touch. I'm by no means promising starter level production here, but Kelly is a piece you want stashed or at least handcuffed with Austin Eckler. This next player has had a Jekyll and Hyde nature to his volume this year. Donovan Peoples-Jones, wide receiver for the Cleveland Browns, is rostered in 12% of leagues. Peoples-Jones has played between 78 and 88% of the snaps in every game this year and has seen 7+ targets in 3 out of 5 games. He's getting targeted on a ton of his routes too, over 31% of them, which is 11th amongst wide receivers. This Cleveland Browns defense hasn't given teams a ton of resistance so far, and they could find themselves in favorable game script for Peoples-Jones more often than we realize. The volume and snaps are there, let's get him stashed on your team. James Cook found pay dirt in week 5 and continues to be efficient with the touches he gets. He's rostered in 28% of leagues and gets a real favorable schedule coming up. The Bills get the Chiefs, Packers, Jets, Vikings, Browns, and Lions in their next 6 games, all of which are favorable matchups for the young rookie. You'd like to see James Cook's snaps start to increase, but the competition in front of him isn't all that hard to overcome. At some point, this Bills coaching staff has to see that Singletary isn't the long-term answer and be willing to give James Cook more shots in both the rushing attack and the receiving game. This last player made my waiver stashes last week as well, but he's still only rostered in 11% of leagues. Sky Moore of the Kansas City Chiefs is starting to become more integrated into this offense week by week. His snap count rose for the 3rd straight week. He was at 13% in week 3, 28% in week 4, and now all the way up to 35% in week 5. His yards per route run is still all the way up at 2.17, which far surpasses fellow wide receivers Juju Smith-Schuster and Marquez Valdes-Scantling. We saw this receiving core be abysmal once again in week 5, and sooner rather than later, changes will need to be made to give this young second-round rookie a shot. You want pieces of explosive offenses in fantasy football, and Sky Moore will get his opportunities soon enough. All right, y'all, before I get out of here, remember, if you want your shot at winning a signed Stefon Diggs Buffalo Bills jersey, courtesy of our friends over at Pristine Auction, you need to subscribe to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel right now and comment below on this video. Maybe you absolutely love one of my waiver stashes. Maybe you absolutely disagree. Whatever it is, that is all you need to do. Subscribe and comment on this video. We will be announcing a winner right here on the channel, so make sure to turn on those notifications so you can be alerted when new episodes are up and to claim your prize when we announce it.
Thanks for tuning in to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel. Don't forget to check out our featured videos. And while you're at it, make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at FantasyPros, so you can get the latest news and updates to give you the edge you need in your fantasy league.